Video 5 of my Wholesaling Lease Options Made Simple videos, and I'm walking through the entire Wholesaling Lease Options concept through these videos. There might be 20, 30 videos, and I'm broadcasting these live on Facebook and YouTube, so hello everybody out there. Yesterday I did number 4, and if you go into the mind map, you can see there's a link on each of the previous videos. There's a link in the mind map to each of those videos. So if you want this mind map, text the letters WLO to 313131. Again, text WLO to 313131, and you'll get the mind map, all the videos and stuff like that. Cool? So I'm just going to jump right in. I want to keep these short, 5-10 minutes. I've been making them too long, so I apologize. But I want to talk today about important concepts to remember, to keep in mind for wholesaling lease options. And first one that I want you to understand is that you are not in the real estate business. You are in the marketing business. Marketing is the most important part of any business, but especially real estate. Leads are the lifeblood of your business, okay? And consequently, there's two sins, especially in the wholesaling lease options business, that you need to be aware of, okay? Number one is the sin of complicating this business, all right? There's really only 3 things you need to do deals. Whether you're doing lease options or wholesaling or rehabbing or buy and hold or whatever, there's only 3 things you need to do. Number 1, marketing. Number 2, talking to sellers. And number 3, making offers. That's it. And maybe you can add into that follow-up, okay? Everything else is secondary. You don't need to worry about anything else, okay? Just focus on steps 1 and 2, which is marketing, talking to sellers, and obviously making offers and following up. That's kind of included in that, okay? The second sin is what I like to call the sin of anticipatory thinking, like overcomplicating it and trying to think of all of the answers that need to be, the questions that need to be answered before you take any action, okay? So I just want to encourage you, stop focusing on steps 7 and 8. Those are important, but don't focus on those until you've mastered steps 1 and 2. So just focus on steps 1 and 2, right? Stop asking the what if questions and start asking the what's next questions. Do you understand the difference? So many of us get caught up in anticipatory thinking, like, well, what if this happens? And what if that happens? And then what if the seller says this? Or what if this happens? Do I need this or that? My wife just sent me a text. Let me shut my notifications off. All right, so what about all of that stuff, right? Stop asking the what if questions and start asking what's next. So if you're just starting off, what's next? Start sending out the marketing, right? What's next? Start talking to sellers. Well, then what's next? Start making offers and then start following up, okay? So always be thinking about just the next step. You'll save yourself so much hassle and headache. Just start thinking about the next steps, okay? And that's why it's important to have a mentor. A mentor can help you worry about steps 7 and 8 so you can just focus on steps 1 and 2. You don't have to have all your questions answered before you start. In fact, you never will have all your questions answered. And so it's all about progress, not perfection, okay? It's always just about making steps, making progress, and then that's what matters most, okay? So it's also important to stay focused on the basic things and get really, really good at them. I wrote a book called Being Brilliant at the Basics. So be focused, stay focused on the most important things, the basic things, okay? And get really, really good at that. I've seen guys do deals, lots of deals, real estate agents, investors, property managers. The guys in this business that are the most successful are the most focused. And they're really, really good at the simple, basic things. In fact, when you talk to them and they tell you what they're doing, you're like, oh, is that it? You mean that's all I got to do? And sometimes when you're a beginner, you're like, but what about this and what about that? I got to understand and do all this. I got to have all these different things in place. I've been there, done that, right? You've got to be really, really good at the basic things. And that's what my goal of this little video series and course that I'm doing, okay? The final thing you got to think about is you got to do what your competition is not doing, okay? The competition does not have a marketing plan. They don't have a scorecard. They're not picking up the phone. They're not making offers to every seller that you talk to, okay? And they're not following up with your leads. So if you want to have success in this lease options business, you need to do those things, right? You need to have a marketing plan. You need to track your numbers with the scorecard. You need to pick up the phone. Don't treat it like a cactus. Pick up the phone. Okay? Make offers to every seller you talk to and follow up with your leads at least 100 times. Okay? That's where you're going to have success in this business. Now, I want to talk real quick about licensing issues. When it comes to lease options, this is a very hot topic. When it comes to wholesaling in general, it's a very hot topic. Should you get your realtor license or not? First, let me say I'm not an attorney. I don't pretend to be one. I don't play one on TV or anything like that. You do need to get an attorney's opinion on this stuff, okay? Let me give you my opinion from after talking to attorneys and friends. In fact, I'm interviewing one real soon here on my podcast. You can do lease options without your license, and you can also do lease options as a realtor. I actually recommend you get your realtor's license. I think the benefits outweigh the cost. Some people would disagree, and that's fine. I get it. You can still flip lease options without a license, all right? So there's a few things. If you decide not to get your license, this is what I recommend you do. Number one, you always got to treat the deals as if you're going to stay in the middle. You always approach every lease option deal as if it's an investment property that you're adding into your portfolio, okay? And you're going to stay in the middle. And if the numbers don't work, you can sell your contract or assign your interest away. But if you're always approaching the deal as if you're going to stay in the middle, okay? And if you're not going to stay in the middle, then I suggest you actually hire a realtor to market and sell your homes for you. Right, there's this whole thing about brokering without a license, and that's an important issue. And you could argue till you're blue in the face that you have equitable interest, that you're a principal in the contract, et cetera, et cetera. But when you're standing before a real estate commission that has to investigate every complaint that it gets, and that real estate commission is made up of 99% of them are real estate agents, you're not going to win that argument. So you can't broker property. You can't say, I'm going to find you a buyer and a seller and put them together. You can't do that, okay? So that's why I'm saying you always approach these properties as if it's going to be added into your portfolio, and hopefully most of them are. But in occasional scenarios, some of them will not be good enough numbers. You don't want to keep them in your portfolio, so you get it under contract and you sell the contract away. But I'm going to tell you, you got to outsource that stuff anyway, so why not outsource it to a realtor? Does that make sense? You can get a realtor, a leasing agent. I'll talk about this later in the videos. You can get a leasing agent that can advertise all your lease option properties for you and just pay them half a month's rent. They don't have to put it on the MLS. They don't have to use the realtor's paperwork and all that. So again, you can do your deals with or without a license. If you have a license and you want to do lease options, you can do them the way I teach, or you can do them with traditional realtor paperwork and listing agreements if you want. So it just depends on what you want to do. If you have a license, make sure you're working with a investor-friendly broker. Does that make sense? All right. So again, I'm not an attorney. It's a good idea, even if you're not licensed or even if you are, to get an attorney, get a local attorney to do your paperwork for you. I use an attorney out of Ohio that does all my lease option deals all over the U.S., and he has local attorneys in each state review his contracts before he uses them. So if you have my course, you get access to him. He only charges $500. It's a fantastic deal. Okay? The other thing I wanted to say as part of these important concepts, it's important to get educated a little bit, right? I don't want you to get over-educated, right, and just stay in education mode and never take any action. But that's why I created my course on wholesaling lease options, and you can get that. But you can also, I did a bunch of podcasts. So if you go to my podcast, realestateinvestingmastery.com, and just do a search for the word lease options, you'll see about a dozen podcasts in here about lease options. Check those out. Some good interviews I did with other people. I talked about my own story. In fact, if you go to the very beginning, like one of the first podcasts I did, well, it's in here somewhere. One of the first podcasts I did was about how I do lease options in my business. Oh, yeah. Episode 2. Okay, so check that out. Check that out. And I put some good books in here I got from Amazon. These are some books that I've read. Some of them are really old, like ancient from 2002, right? But they're really, really good books. Wendy Patton's written a couple good books. You should get those on Amazon. There's a great book called Buy Low, Rent Smart, Sell High. That's more of an approach from actually buying the property with a mortgage or with cash or whatever, but it talks a lot about some really good lease option stuff. Turnkey Investing with Lease Options is a good book, and How to Make Money with Real Estate Options. That's a book written by, I think, Thomas Lucier or something like that. Great book. I don't even know if these guys are still doing real estate or not, if they're still in the business, but you can still buy these books on Amazon. And you just got to be careful with some of what they say, because when they wrote them, they were in a very highly appreciating market. And so just take some of that with a grain of salt. Now, these last 3 books are really good books. They're written by Peter Conti and David Finkel on some of them, I think. So some of them, these bottom 3 may be repeating themselves, but these are really, really good books on the basics of this business and just keeping it really, really simple. Buying real estate without cash or credit, making big money investing in real estate without tenants, banks, and rehab projects, how to create multiple streams of income, buying nice homes in nice areas with nothing down. All of those books are really good, so I'd encourage you to get some education on that, okay? And let me tell you something too. If you want more information, I put this on the bottom of each of my mind maps. If you want this mind map, text the letters WLO to 313131. I did a webinar on wholesaling lease options where I talk about all the different crazy strategies of flipping lease options, how to make a lot of money without spending any money on marketing, without negotiating with sellers, and without doing any of the work selling the park properties, okay? How you can outsource all of that. So go to WLO webinar if you want some more information on that webinar. If you want some personal coaching, you want some help with me, hold you by the hand, go to coachjoe.net and book a strategy session. The final thing I'll tell you is I have a Facebook group on wholesaling lease options. If you go to Facebook, just do a search for wholesaling lease options, look for the group, and put in a request to join, okay? So stick around. I'm going to be doing a lot more videos. The next 2 that I'm going to be doing are it's going to be about the important keys of effective marketing. And then I'm going to show you in number 7 how to create a marketing plan and a scorecard. I'll add this here. This will change your business forever, even if you don't want to do lease options. But having a marketing plan, breaking down your goals into things you can control in a daily, weekly activities, and then tracking those for accountability on a scorecard is huge. So stay tuned for that stuff. And thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.